Welcome back, everybody, to the newest episode of PenPodcast.com. I'm your host, Matthew Harms, founder of Pen for Hire, where we offer premier ghostwriting and author coaching services. Also, the creators of the Pen Podcast, where we sit with authors, writers, writing industry experts, subject matter experts, all around interesting people. And today we have a great topic, and I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Amir Rashidian. How are you today, Doctor?
I'm great. Honored to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
It is my pleasure. I might be looking forward to it more than you, because when the episode's titled Cracking the Stress Secret, I know I could use that in my life, and I'm sure many people out there can as well, especially aspiring authors. It's not all relaxation.
No, you're absolutely right. And sometimes the hard work begins when you're done writing.
I think people who listen to my show regularly might think I pay people to say these things, but I don't. That's one of the first things I tell all of my coaching clients is writing is the easy part. It's what the heck do I do with it when it's done?
Absolutely.
So, if you'd be so kind, actually, where are you joining us from?
Frederick, Maryland.
Frederick, Maryland. I've gotten away from my chart. I've got Maryland checked off. I need Delaware. I have my country map of all the states I've had guests from. I'm just missing a few.
Very cool.
So, Doctor, how long have you been writing, or what got you into writing this book?
A while back, this is probably 2012, over 10 years ago, I was asked to speak to a group of CEOs. There was 100 CEOs in the room. They said, you have 5 minutes. What would you share? And I talked about stress. Well, afterwards, it was actually a speaking competition. So there was 20 people speaking. They all only had 5 minutes to speak, and then they voted, and I won. So then they said, this topic is so good, you should probably write a book. Around the same time, a lot of our patients were saying, hey, all my problems are because of stress. If I didn't have enough stress, if I didn't have so much stress, I wouldn't be so unhealthy. I wouldn't have pain. I wouldn't have illness. I wouldn't have diseases. And I kept telling them, listen, a lot of people have stress, but not everybody gets sick. So there's got to be a different common denominator than the stress. So we started studying it, and I started writing the book. Now, the funny part is I have dyslexia, and I didn't know I have dyslexia. So it makes it really hard to read and edit my book. And my wife was 3 months pregnant. She said, the baby comes in 6 months, so you better finish the book in 6 months. And I said, that's plenty of time. Well, it took 6.5 years to finish and put that first book out. And then the second one is a rewrite of the first book. And that one, went about a little faster. But this one, we had, the publisher involved and lawyers and professional editors. And so that took a while. So I guess it's been even longer than that, because my son is now 13 years old, and I started right before he was born. So I've been writing for 14 years.
Wow. You know what? That's honestly not an uncommon story, nor is the dyslexia. I was shocked when I started this podcast. I would have to say at least 25% of our guests who have written books have all said they were dyslexic or found out through the process they were dyslexic.
Yeah. Wow.
Did you find the writing helpful with the dyslexia at all?
Yeah, writing is not a problem. Reading is the problem. So I finished writing the book, and every time I tried to read it, I fell asleep. I thought it must be an awful book. I can't even get through a page. So what I did was I hired an editor to read my book to me over the phone for 2 hours every Friday afternoon, and I edited it verbally.
That's an interesting concept. I got to write that down, because I was going to say, I can barely read my own stuff either. In fact, if I'm writing a book for somebody, I have to have someone on my team edit it, no matter how good it is, because your natural inclination is to overlook your own errors.
That makes sense.
So you kind of did it out of necessity, but it was still the better move, because even if you were able to read it and fly through it, you probably got a much better result using the editor.
Exactly.
So you mentioned, after the talk, you had patients also mentioning stress. What type of medicine are you in?
I am a chiropractor.
Okay.
And so, there's a big misconception about chiropractic. We typically believe it's about back pain and neck pain. True traditional chiropractic was about optimizing the body to function efficiently and effectively. And so we remove interference that get in the way of that. That interference can be physical interference, like misalignments in the spine. It could be mental interference, which is thoughts and patterns of behavior, but it could also be chemical interference. So our focus is to make sure your nervous system is working properly. So here's where the stress comes into it, is that how healthy you are is determined entirely by how much stress you can safely handle. So let's say someone can handle this much stress. The minute their stress level goes above their tolerance, they are susceptible to illness and injury. But as long as their stress stays below their tolerance, they're not susceptible to illness injury. The only problem with that is the human body is designed to adapt. So when you lower your stress, you become adaptive to the lowered level of stress. Now, less stress makes you sick. Just like going to the gym. If I go to the gym and lift weights, but every time I go, I lift less weight than the day I did the amount I did before, I won't get stronger. I'm going to actually get weaker. And so I need to be adding stress to my body so I can adapt and grow and get better. And that's where the whole concept started and came from. Now, if I were to extrapolate, I would say your level of success in life, in business, in writing also depends on how much stress you can safely handle. How many books you produce depends on how much stress you can safely handle. And then your income depends entirely on how much stress you can safely handle as well. So we have got to focus on increasing our adaptability and resilience towards stress.
That is such an interesting take on stress, because I mean, the common answer I find myself saying all the time, like, if I could just get rid of the stress in my life, I'd be fine. And what I'm hearing from you is it's actually the opposite. You want to increase the stress in your life.
Yeah, I mean, the most successful people I've been around, I've studied these people for this particular reason. They have a different definition of stress. They have a different relationship with stress, and they never, ever focus on reducing that stress. They just focus on, hey, how can I handle this? How can I take the hits and still keep moving forward? I mean, I don't know if you've ever read a book called The War of Art, written by Stephen Pressfield, one of the best authors. And he writes about how the minute you decide, I'm going to write a book, you get hit with challenges left and right. You say, hey, I'm going to set aside an hour a day. This is the hour. That's the hour your kids are going to call you and bug you. That's when your hard drive will crash or your computer will stop working. I mean, you are going to get hit with challenges all over the place. That's what the entire book is about. I think he wrote it because when he was writing, Stephen Pressfield wrote, I believe, the script for Legend of Bagger Vance, the movie. And I think he did Sleepless in Seattle as well. Then he went into writing nonfiction. But it's a concept. I mean, if you want to write, you better be ready for the stress that comes your way.
That is so true. In fact, one of the things I tell all my clients when they're doing their own writing is just schedule the time, but don't hold yourself to any of these incredible lofty goals. Like, I'm going to do 10,000 words, because you can't control that, right? There's going to be other things, as you just said, external circumstances. You're going to have internal fights with yourself. Some days you feel it. You can't schedule when you're going to be on, but you can keep the promise of sitting in front of your computer for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I believe if you do something every day, even if you just go sit and maybe write one sentence, the parts of your brain are still working when you step away. And it's very interesting because it brings it to the forefront. Then when you walk away, you may be doing something totally different, playing chess with a friend of yours, and an idea will come to you. They'll be like, oh, I need to write about this tomorrow. But you absolutely, like you said, have to schedule and do something every day so that your brain is working. Your brain will work on it 24 hours a day, even if you only sit at the computer for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and from what I understand from some other people way smarter than I, brain science, especially if you do that right before bed, you get kind of the most optimal. Your brain goes to work the entire time you're asleep trying to figure that problem or write the next chapter for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Reader's Digest said Think and Grow Rich was the third most influential book of all time. So number one was the Bible, two was Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, and the third one they said was Think and Grow Rich. Well, he came up with the title for Think and Grow Rich in the middle of the night. His publisher said, the title you have is terrible. We're not publishing this book. And then they gave him a deadline, said, unless you come up with a title by tomorrow morning that we like, we're not publishing this book. And He went to sleep. He told his subconscious mind, come up with a title, and went to sleep. Middle of the night, he got up. He wrote down Think and Grow Rich.
That's incredible. I did not know that story. I also didn't know Atlas Shrugged was number 2 after the Bible.
Well, this is according to Reader's Digest. There's many other polls, and I don't think it's on every poll, but yeah, it was number
Even
2.
making it on one poll, I mean, it was a great favorite of mine, but I wouldn't necessarily think that everyone would rank it up there. But hey, anyway, let's get back to stress, because I know that's the topic near and dear to our hearts. You said that everyone's body has a threshold for the amount of stress they can handle. What determines that threshold? Is that born into us? Is that just based on how we've conditioned ourselves? A little bit of both?
It's 100% how we condition ourselves. So we can measure it in our office. What we do is we run scans of the nervous system. One of the tests we do is called heart rate variability, but the specific algorithm we use tells me if your body tends to sit in fight or flight at rest, or if it's in rest and repair, or if you're balanced. And I can figure out if your body is in different stages of stress, like wired and tired, or just fatigued. Now, the test will tell me whether you're prepared for more stress in your life, or if you're not handling the amount of stress that you already have in a safe fashion. I'll give you an example. The UFC fighters, the MMA fighters that fight at the highest level in the octagon, they were getting injured 2 weeks before a fight, because the fight's scheduled for, let's say, 3, 4, 5, or 6 months away. And they start training, and they need sparring partners. So as they get better and stronger, they bring in higher level sparring partners. So a couple weeks before the big fight, they're fighting high level fighters, and they would get hurt. So they started doing this test. And to simplify it, if they were in the green, they would train all out, hardcore, go all the way. If they were in the yellow, that meant they didn't recover properly from the last workout, so they would do an easy workout that day. And if they were in the red, the coach would send them home. You are not ready to train. You need to go rest some more. And doing that reduced all the injuries. And it's the same concept with life. We pull an all-nighter, and then the next day we do a lot of different stuff. We're going to get sick on the third day, But if your body is trained to be able to function under less sleep, and you can train for this, just like the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers, who can sleep 20 minutes and operate at levels we couldn't even imagine on a full night of sleep. So you can train your body for that. And I think you need to train for everything that you're doing.
Wow. Now, I don't want you to give away the entire secret or the keys to the kingdom without people reading your book.
I don't
But
know.
I'm sure there's people listening saying, how the heck can I train myself to deal with more stress? Like, I can't even take the stress level I'm under now. So what are some simple things that people can do just to kind of start moving in that direction?
Perfect. Yeah, number one is you're already doing it. Now, when you were in first grade, having a spelling test with 3-letter words of cat and hat and bat were difficult words. And then when you got to fourth grade, fifth grade, those 3-letter words were really easy for you. So it's a progression. It's called progressive overload in the weight training world. And you just need to little by little grow yourself. So it's hard for you to get up at 5 a.m. to write because you've been getting up at 9 a.m. every morning. Well, don't go to 5 a.m. That's not going to be easy for you. Little by little, increase how early you wake up. Maybe try 8 o'clock tomorrow. And if you get used to that, then go up to 7:30, and little by little start adding time. So we're already doing it, and the body adapts very easily. We can't throw too much stress. I mean, let's say I've never lifted weights, and you put 300 pounds on the bar and have me bench press that, I'll get injured. I'll drop the bar on myself. It's not going to work. But if I'm already benching, let's say 120 pounds, and I want to move up to 125 pounds, well, we can add a little weight, and I'll practice till I can get it. And then we'll add a little more weight. So little by little, step by step, chunk it down and decide how you want to proceed. Now, wellness is the degree. And you remember I said the successful people have a different definition of stress. Let me give you that. Because you start with this definition, that stress, very simply, is a force that causes change in your life. Very easy, it's a force. Stress is like gravity. It can keep your feet on the ground, or it can cause you to fall and get hurt. It's a neutral force. Money is a force. Money can pay for your kids to go through college, or it can fund terrorist activity that kill people. Anger is another one. Anger is a force. Anger can get someone angry enough to commit a crime. But there's this thing called righteous anger when you say, I'm tired of procrastinating and I'm going to sit down and get this thing done. So that's a force that causes you to achieve good things. Stress is just a force. It's neutral. It's not good. It's not bad. It's absolutely neutral. Now, the changes it causes in your body can be good or bad. And that's what we focus on. How do we result in positive change from stress? So then the next word we have to define is wellness. Wellness is how much health and vitality you experience in the three dimensions of life. Those three dimensions, I mentioned them earlier, are psycho-emotional, which is what goes on in your brain, chemical, biochemical, which is things you put in your body chemically, on your body, you breathe in, whatever, and physical, which is what you do. So physical stress can lead to a certain amount of change in the body. Chemical stress will lead to other change, and mental, emotional stress will lead to other change. If you want to train for the next thing, which is what your question was. And it's a longer way of answering it, but I had to do that. You want to train for something, you need to take those three dimensions and improve them by a little bit simultaneously. Very, very easy. So keep in mind, imagine each of those dimensions is a coin. Every coin has two sides to it. So the physical coin has exercise on one side. You want to be able to do more. Well, start exercising. It will translate into your life. But the other side of that coin is rest. So you can't have a lot of exercise, not enough rest. You have to balance the two. And only you know what that looks like. Initially, you may need more rest. Little by little, you may need less rest. Your body becomes more efficient in response to exercise, but you have to balance it. In the biochemical dimension, you have to feed the deficiencies in your body. Is there vitamin D deficiency? Is there any other type of mineral or enzyme deficiency in your body? Feed your body with proper nutrition. The other side of the coin is toxicity. You have to remove toxins. Smoking, drinking, whatever that might be considered a toxin. Chemicals we put on our face, there's a lot of websites out there that'll tell you exactly what's in it, whether it's good for you or bad for you. So remove toxins is one side of the coin. Feed the deficiencies is the other side of the coin. And the last one was psycho-emotional, right? So you have to understand we can't block negativity in our lives. We get distracted all the time, but we can choose when we get distracted. So for example, watching the news in the evening will raise cortisol levels. It's going to interfere with your sleep. Cortisol is already high in the morning. So before noon, watch all the news that you want and get it out of your system, get caught up on everything. At the end of the day, you've got to feed your mind with feel good, heartwarming, happy, healthy things, thoughts, hang out with friends, things like that. So anyways, three dimensions, two sides to every coin, improve each dimension by a little bit, and you will be training for overcoming stress. Now, if you like, I can give you specifics on different things you can actually do.
I would definitely love that. I want to back up one quick second, though, before I
Sure.
forget this question. You had mentioned simultaneously. Now, did you mean simultaneously work on all three, or simultaneously work on the reducing the bad side of one coin and the positive side of one element at a time?
No, it has to be all three. All three, both sides of all three. So 6 different things need to improve. And I'll give you an example. I had a patient who was addicted to opioids for painkillers. He had tremendous pain. He was overweight, and he was going through some depression. And he wanted to, get healthy. So we talked about the same thing, 3 dimensions. So number one, on the physical dimension, we said, well, let's manage your pain through chiropractic care instead of the opioids you're on. And let's see if you can clean that out. So taking some toxicity out of the system. Stop drinking soda all the time. Let's reduce that. Drink more water. Simple things. From the mental standpoint, he liked to laugh. I said, why don't you start asking everybody to tell you jokes and write them down? So he would ask people, hey, give me what's a joke of the day? And he started writing down all the jokes that he was hearing, just compiling a list. And he started to walk. He started to go for a short walk, and then it became a longer walk, and he started doing really long walks, like marathon style walks eventually. But he lost weight, his back pain went away, he came off the opioids, and he compiled enough jokes to write a book of all the jokes. So he's working on another book on how he lost over 100 pounds in less than a year.
Wow. That is a great example. As you were going through it, I was trying to think, like, for someone who's struggling, I guess, in writing, right? Cut back on 30 minutes of TV a day and spend 30 minutes writing instead of watching that TV. If you're constantly sitting in front of your computer, stop sitting for half the day. And actually, that's a change I made recently. I got a standing desk, and
Perfect.
I don't stand all day because it's, that's kind of crazy too, and it starts to take its toll on your back. But I will alternate between the two, and I've noticed a tremendous difference in my mood and even the tasks that I'll work on when I'm standing versus sitting. There's certain ones that I'm much more effective at standing, and others that I just need to sit for.
Yeah, some people actually access different brain centers in different postures. So you literally you're writing and you want to access your depressed self, just get in a depressed posture, and all of a sudden you can think like that person. Act like you're writing about an athlete. Stand like an athlete. Stand like Wonder Woman. With your arms behind your hips, feet wide apart. Stand really tall. You'll think differently. And some people literally can be more creative sitting, and some people are more creative standing. You'll have to figure that out. If you're right brain or left brain conscious, that's a different thing too. So one of the things I would do was, if I hit a writer's block, I would put an eye patch over my left eye. And I would look at my writing with just my right eye, and it activated the left brain. And that's the creative brain. So for me, now most people, their left brain it's the other way around. Right brain is creative, left brain is logical. So, but there's a small percentage of people where it's reversed. So anyways, I would start writing with my left hand. Even though the handwriting was terrible, I'd switch hands and start writing with the left hand and put an eye patch on the right eye. So I'm only activating the left side of my body. And that would lead to thoughts I normally wouldn't have had.
Wow. So what I took away from that amazing hack you figured out is, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, it sounds like one of the biggest things to focus on is just paying attention to the little patterns and things in your own life to identify what's working when, and then go from there, rather than starting from just trying all these random strategies that you may find in a book or on a YouTube video.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Try the weird stuff. Do anything you need to crazy. I mean, doesn't matter. There was a period of time where I'd set my alarm for 3:30 in the morning. I don't know why I picked 3:30 in the morning, but I picked 3:30 in the morning. I'd get up and write and go back to sleep, because I was like, I wonder what thoughts are going to come out of my mind at 3:30 in the morning. And so I literally would get up and write for an hour in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep just to see what would come out.
And what did come out?
I mean, it was different. I don't remember specifics of it, but it was different. I would remember different stories. Being tired and sleepy, you access different thoughts and emotions. Everything goes hand in hand.
See, the reason I asked what came out is because I know for me, I keep a notepad on my nightstand, because there are times where I wake up in the middle of the night, not on purpose, because I am not my alarm goes off at 3:30. I'm just going to slam my hand down and go back to sleep. But it's those ideas that you you just jar wide awake to, that too many years of my life I went back to sleep. Like, I'll write about it in the morning, and it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, always. It always goes away. Never trust that it's going to stay. It will always go away. Write it down.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is great stuff. So if someone wanted to start putting something small into action today, let's say they've identified some patterns or things that are working, what would you say is the number one thing someone could do today to work on that progression or balancing the three dimensions of wellness?
Okay. Again, really simple things like our early morning sunlight is powerful to make you healthy. So when you wake up, go sit outside, have your coffee outside if the weather's nice, and just soak up some of the UVB rays. UVB rays, literally your body will, when sunlight hits your skin, it converts cholesterol to vitamin D. I was a chemistry major in undergrad, and so I study molecular structure of everything. And cholesterol and vitamin D are almost identical in molecular structure, minus one little bond. And so you literally will reduce cholesterol and increase vitamin D if you go out in the sun early in the morning. And those rays aren't as harmful as noon rays, where you can burn or get skin cancer. Figure out what needs to be detoxified in your body. You know, obviously, if you have bad habits, reduce those. If you smoke a pack a day, do 19 cigarettes instead of 20. Just reduce it a little bit. I mean, if you have to. And then eating simple things like cilantro. Cilantro reduces heavy metal toxicity in the body. So we've all, if you had mercury work done in your teeth, or sometimes this is a very it's a word that creates a response, but sometimes vaccines have certain heavy metals in them, like aluminum and mercury in them, which necessarily need to they're adjuvants that create the immune response. But you want to detoxify the body. Cilantro is a good thing to include in your diet. Other nutritious things like onions and garlic. You know, most people don't eat those things. But sulfur-rich foods will feed your mitochondria in your cells. Now, mitochondria produce all the energy. So if you're tired, add some garlic and onion to your regular diet. It may help, but time your meals better. Eat less, not more. Exercise. Start with 3 minutes in the morning. Just start your day with 3 minutes of exercise. Whatever. Put music on and dance to it. But you have to move your body. Now, I'll tell you two things that are related. Same concept. Number one, how you sleep is more important than how long you sleep. And how you eat is more important than what you eat. So those are countercultural, counterintuitive, even controversial topics. So I'll start with the eating one. Think about this. The French, if you've ever been to France, and I'll say this real quick because I don't want to run out of time here. There's this thing called the French paradox, because in France, people are immune to heart disease and obesity. In fact, if you're in France, and I spent 3 weeks in Paris with some locals hanging out, friends, and none of them were overweight. In fact, if you saw an overweight person, it was probably a tourist, not a French person. And they don't get heart disease, but they eat wine, cheese, and bread with every meal. But it's not what they're eating, it's how they're eating. They stop, they relax, they pause. Eating is almost a sacred event for them. We don't do that. We eat on the go. Doesn't matter what you eat. When you're in a busy, rushed mental state, the food you put in your mouth becomes poison because your body cannot digest it. When your body is in a fight or flight state, food sits in your stomach longer. It will ferment and it becomes non-nutritious by the time it gets in your intestines, and it's not going to benefit you. So you could be eating really, really well, but you're eating in your car while you're on the phone in rush hour traffic. Good luck. That's not going to be good food. Now, I'm a busy guy. We see 24,000 patients in my 2 offices. Sometimes I only have 15 minutes to eat. In fact, today, getting ready for this, I had literally 12 minutes to eat. But I'm not going to eat really fast to get all the food in. The first 2 minutes, I pause. I'll relax. I might play some classical music. I'll say a prayer of gratitude, and I start eating like I have all day. When the 12 minutes is up, I pack it up, put it in the fridge, and get on my podcast, because I don't want to rush that. It's wrong. It's very unhealthy. Sleep is the same thing. You have to figure out how to sleep deeper, not how long. So I have 3 sons. I run 2 practices, and I write. And now I'm on this big kick of promoting my book. It's a lot of work. So I only sleep about 6 hours a night, 6 hours and 15 minutes if I'm lucky. But I figured out how to go deep enough in that sleep where I can recover and rest and be ready for the next day.
Wow. It sounds like we're going to need a follow-up. You did make my day, though, with the healthy ingredients, because salsa and chimichurri are like 2 of my absolute favorite condiments. And they're both packed with cilantro, onions, and garlic. So I'm doing something right. What I'm putting it on might need to change a little bit. Doctor, this has been absolutely incredible. I'm sure that anyone listening, I know I have a ton more questions, but we are just about at time, and I want to leave something to the imagination. So for anyone who's wondering more about going deeper in sleep or any of the other wonderful tidbits of knowledge you have in your book, how can people get in touch with you? How can people work with you, come and find you if they're in the Maryland area and need your expertise, or just buy your book?
I have 2 websites. One is called Mid-Atlantic Clinic.com. That's our offices. The other is drrashidian.com, which is my author website. And my book is available on every platform, Barnes & Noble, here it is right here. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, it should be everywhere. And our YouTube channel, it's called Real Chiropractic. So there's a lot of videos there. Pretty much everything it's in the book, I've put in some video, some way, in some format. So feel free to just look at those videos. And and if the book interests you, go ahead and grab one.
Amazing. For everyone listening, I really can't imagine anyone who doesn't need to work on their stress a little better, figure out how to increase it instead of focusing on the wrong things that we always hear is I got to reduce my stress level. By all means, please buy the book, reach out to Dr. Rashidian. If you're in the area, hey, reach out for a consultation. You never know what you're going to find out. I am beyond educated just with all the notes I wrote that didn't even turn into questions, just things I need to put into practice in my own life. So once again, Dr. Rashidian, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and speaking to us about your book and just other ways for everyone in general to be healthier and deal with their stress better.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it tremendously.
It has been my pleasure. Have a great day, and we got to get you back on the show in the future.